Hello, everybody. It's John Pollock alongside Jimmy Corderas. We're coming out of the WWE's final pay-per-view / network special. I guess, at least on the main roster. We still have a takeover special to go in 2015, but they presented TLC Sunday night from Boston. This crowd would be a big part of this particular show. And going into this one, Jimmy, I mean, let's be honest. A week ago, you and I were not exactly at the edge of our seats getting ready for TLC. No. But in a lot of cases, I think this goes to show a lot of the major issues or gripes that people have with the WWE is a lot of the creative direction, filling all of that television. But when you get to these monthly specials and it's largely the talent goes out there and they get to just perform, very rare do you have a dud of a show. And this was certainly not one on Sunday. And I thought a pretty entertaining show overall.
I thought so. I thought from top to bottom. I mean, like, obviously there are little hiccups here and there during the show, and not every match is going to be a home run. But I thought overall, the show delivered very well. And we talked about last week, the expectations going in may not have been high, but that just made everything feel that much more important when we saw a great presentation in a lot of cases on Sunday.
The TLC match, this was a lengthy match, went about 26 minutes with Sheamus retaining the title with the help of, I guess, two other members of the League of Nations. Mysteriously absent was King Barrett. But nonetheless, the numbers game caught up with Roman Reigns. Sheamus climbs up, gets the championship belt. The fear going into this was, man, is this going to be another time that Roman Reigns fails? And yes, he didn't win the title, but the bigger issue was the post-match angle with Triple H and Stephanie coming down the ringside. Roman Reigns snaps. He destroys Triple H. And this was at a level that the WWE rarely goes to this extreme with a very protected character in Triple H, putting him through the table and lighting him up with chair shots. And then sometimes you can run that risk, Jimmy, where it's too much and the audience is kind of, okay, let's get on with it. Each attack built on the last one to where Reigns is leaving and then sprints back and spears Hunter. This place erupted. And this was a crowd that was not just pro Reigns at the start of this. They were booing Roman climbing the ladder. They did not want to see this guy win. But by the end of the night, they were chanting, "Thank you, Roman." And for the first time, Jimmy, he felt like a top babyface and a gigantic reaction to end the show. And I have to label this show a thumbs up just because of what they accomplished, because of it being so important. Hopefully, there's a trickle-over effect to both how they present Roman Reigns and how audiences take to him, because Sunday was a home run, I thought.
I think so, too. And it goes to show that people, of course, didn't like the Roman Reigns that they were getting with the tater tots that we heard 47 times last week and that sort of stuff. That didn't resonate with the audience. What we saw on Sunday night post loss to Sheamus is the Roman Reigns that maybe a lot of people wanted to see. Maybe that's the Roman Reigns that people want to see going forward. It's kind of like, and I wonder too, because maybe I like to think that sometimes things are done by design, and maybe it was in a way to make you dislike the comedic Roman Reigns, and once something like this happens where he snaps and goes off on Triple H.
Benefit of the doubt, Jimmy Corderas.
Of course. I'm trying to look at the glass half full. I doubt it, but I'm trying to look at the glass half full. But again, going back to the beatdown of Triple H, you have to give full marks to Triple H because he sold his ass off for Roman and made the beatdown look as good as it actually was. And like you said, the progression, the build to the crescendo, that's good storytelling. That is good psychology, and that's what helped create the reaction we got at the end with the thank you Romans. Because if you're just throwing stuff out there to hopefully get a pop out of the crowd, that doesn't work. It is that build-up, that crescendo, that climax. And I'm going to use a golf analogy here. We're doing this before Monday Night Raw, so we don't know what happens on Monday Night Raw. But wrestling, believe it or not, is a lot like golf. Follow me here. Oops, I'm hitting mics and everything. You walk up to the first tee, you hit a beautiful drive down the center of the fairway, right? That's all good. That's all good, but now it's your approach shot. What do you do next? It's putting everything together. And okay, the first hole might go great. You may birdie, but you have a second hole. There's 18 holes in a golf course. It's all about what happens next in the progression. So hopefully this is the launching pad for Roman Reigns. But then again, Monday night going into Philly, that's going to be interesting because the Philly crowd kind of sometimes does their own thing. And it may not have anything to do with the booking. They just may boo him just because they boo him.
I feel that after TLC and seeing how successful that ending was, I have very little sympathy if we see Roman Reigns in that comedic role and they get frustrated at how the crowd reacts, because it could not be more painfully obvious what works and what does not work with Roman Reigns, because we saw both extremes over the past week on Monday and then Sunday in Boston. But I was amazed by that crowd and how they were able to turn them around, get behind Roman. And again, that reaction to that running spear at the side of the ring was incredible. And it now leads to the question, clearly we are going to get Roman Reigns and Triple H at some point down the road, whether that is in January or if this is your WrestleMania program, which would not surprise me at all.
Yeah, especially considering if you go to the WWE.com exclusive, Triple H did the entire stretcher job on a neck brace, backboard, the whole bit. So, maybe it is a WrestleMania program down the line, which I'm perfectly fine with. And maybe that holds Roman Reigns off from the WWE Championship, at least for a little while. You know what I mean? But then again, you have the other problem of, do you risk going into WrestleMania with Sheamus as your champion?
My belief would be no.
Yeah, I doubt that too. And backtracking a little bit, because you mentioned earlier about Wade Barrett not being out there, which nothing happens without a reason for it. So I'm thinking that
sometimes in wrestling, Jimmy, sometimes it's just conveniently forgotten.
Again, we're working on the glass half full, right? The glass
there you
half
go.
Full.
The Tim's half full.
Yeah, but I think there is a reason why Barrett wasn't at ringside to help out Sheamus, and maybe that leads to why Dean Ambrose and the Uso brothers were not there. Because why wouldn't they show up as well? Again, people, of course, on social media. Well, where was Ambrose? Where was the Usos? Well, where was Barrett? Maybe he had something to do with it. Well,
it's an easy way to tie that up, and
exactly.
I think people appreciate when you go to that length and explain. If that's a natural question people are asking, answer it, and that's a simple reason to do that. And even with the Usos, I mean, the idea that they were just battered after that ladder match, there's ways to explain where they were. In terms of the actual match, I mean, to me, it was like the angle was kind of overshadowed the match for me. I think it was much more important, the post-match angle, than the actual match, because they knew that Sheamus was going to be keeping the title. How are we going to best position Roman Reigns after the match? And I don't think you can complain. But in terms of TLC matches, I mean, this was kind of... I don't know if this is going to be the most memorable. The guys worked really hard, did a lot of insane stuff, which, given the injury rate, I memean, pretty ambitious to be doing one of these matches with two key guys. But nonetheless, 25-minute match, and Sheamus retains. Do you what is set up for the Royal Rumble if Jimmy Corderas is booking the next couple of weeks to go into the Rumble?
Well, obviously, coming out of the post-match angle, I'm assuming there's going to be more obstacles put in Roman Reigns' way. Then they're going to make it as difficult as possible for him to achieve his goal of WWE champion. Do you put him in the Rumble match itself? But then again, you've got so many other superstars on the sidelines. You've got guys coming back for 2016. You got a Brock Lesnar. Where does he fit into the plans at the Royal Rumble? I'm assuming he's going to be there. I think he's booked for it. Is he in the actual Rumble match itself? Is he the guy that actually comes back and wipes Sheamus and the United League of Nations off the planet?
It seems that, I mean, you look at all these players that are going to be coming back into the rotation. John Cena's going to be back in time for the Rumble. You have Brock Lesnar, as you mentioned. I mean, if all these names are in the Rumble, it's a year where you do have different options you can go with in terms of who wins the Rumble, whether the title is going to stay on Sheamus. A lot of interesting moving parts. It's not out of the question that Reigns and Hunter could be your title program at WrestleMania. A lot of different ways you can go. And Brock's an interesting one, because if you're having Hunter or Roman win the Royal Rumble, you better have a hell of an angle to get Brock Lesnar out of there to eliminate him, because he needs to be in a major spot going into WrestleMania.
Absolutely.
Let's chat about some of the other stuff that went down at the TLC pay-per-view. We had Dean Ambrose winning the Intercontinental title from Kevin Owens. Surprising at all that they went with Dean Ambrose here, and does this program continue with the two?
A little surprised, and I don't mind a short little rivalry between these two, and these guys go into maybe the Royal Rumble is the blow-off match for them too, but it tells me one of two things. It tells me either they've got bigger plans for Kevin Owens going forward, and maybe he's you've heard rumors from him especially that he would like to face Brock Lesnar at a WrestleMania. Is that viable for this year? Maybe. It all depends on how he's positioned going forward. It's interesting. It caught me a little off guard, but then again, maybe this plays into the Roman Reigns thing. And again, Sunday night during the pay-per-view special, whatever
they call it pay-per-view.
I call it pay-per-view too. It's like trying to get the F out when they changed the name back in the day. Very difficult.
Pay-in-view would maybe be the more accurate description. You're not paying per view because you're paying just a lump sum every month.
Yeah. So what is it? P&V or something like that.
We'll come up. That's going to be our goal for 2016. Come up with a new term for these things.
Hashtag. Yeah. The announce team made a specific reference to the fact that, okay, Dean Ambrose held up his end of the bargain. So does that end up causing friction between Roman Reigns and Dean Ambrose? Because, again, he didn't show up at ringside to help his brother out. You know, you won your title. You were fine with it. Where were you when I needed you? Kind of thing. So is that going to be, thrown into the mix as part of the storyline going forward?
We also had a chairs match involving Alberto Del Rio and Jack Swagger. No Zeb Coulter on this show, so it seems like that relationship has been destroyed, and probably for the better, involving both individuals. But Del Rio retains the title here. I don't think any surprise. No. I'm wondering if John Cena is instantly programmed with Del Rio when he comes back, if they're going to actually go back to play off the Hell in a Cell finish, or if John Cena is just going to go in his own direction, because there hasn't been anything teasing Del Rio, bringing up John Cena, bringing up that win. I'm very surprised at how much they have, I don't want to say trivialized that win, but in a way, it's never been referenced since he won the title. It's not something that Del Rio, I feel, has benefited from all that much. To me, if that was the program, Del Rio should be out every week bringing up the fact he beat John Cena.
Yeah, and no explanation for John Cena's absence. I mean, we all know why he's gone, but that's not the point. The point is, for television purposes, for storyline purposes, it was never explained why John Cena has not appeared on WWE television since Hell in a Cell, and it would have been perfect that the kick to the head was the reason for it. And coming back, you would think that John Cena would have an issue with Alberto Del Rio, but again,
easy promo in Boston as well for Alberto Del Rio before this match.
Yeah, I kicked your hometown boy, in the head and knocked him out.
The show kicked off with the ladder match involving the New Day, Lucha Dragons, and the Usos, with the New Day retaining the tag titles with the help of a trombone being thrown across the ring from Xavier Woods. These six went out and just tried to have a tremendous match. A lot of very creative and dangerous spots involving the six. Salida del Sol off the top of a ladder through another ladder to Jey Uso. I mean, just some incredible stuff, Jimmy. And they went out there for 15 minutes, and it was just... it was a car crash at times, and you could see that this one was really laid out well in advance, and I'm sure spent a lot of time as they structured this match.
Yeah, I mean, they did raise the bar. See, that's the tough thing with all these ladder matches, especially after the ones we've seen between the Hardy Boys and Edge and Christian and the Dudleys, and constantly raising the bar every year, trying to be different, trying to be creative. That's the most difficult thing in these matches, and I think they succeeded for the most part in doing that. Unfortunately, when you try to do that, sometimes some of the logic gets thrown out the window, because you would think to yourself, well, there were at least two times that I could think of off the top of my head that the Usos were right there and should have climbed a ladder and go for the titles.
You're telling me if you cleared the ring out of your opponents in a ladder match that you would not just grab the ladder and throw it to the floor rather than climb for the titles?
Oh, maybe I would. It's kind of like that logic when the babyface is climbing the cage while the heel is prone on the ground, and he gets to the top and he looks at the crowd, he looks at the heel, he looks around, and instead of climbing down and winning the match, he jumps off the cage and lands on him.
Yeah, sometimes you just have to turn your brain off for some of these matches, but I thought all six worked really hard in this match. It was the kind of match that I think especially the Lucha Dragons needed to have some kind of a showcase, because quite often they're very limited by television time that they get, and they don't stand out on the roster, and this was an ability for them to be in the ring, and especially Kalisto, who I think could really be emphasized a lot more. And in that regard, I think all three teams benefited from this match. The crowd was into it. It started the show off really hot. And I was optimistic about this match going in, and I think it even exceeded my expectations.
It was a perfect choice for an opener, and it was really good. Maybe Kalisto could change his new entrance music instead of that Lucha Dragons thing. He can. It could be a knockoff. I'm telling you, it could be a knockoff. Living in Salida del Sol.
Jimmy Corderas, folks.
Man, you better don't do the job. Oh, never mind. All right.
Karaoke Corderas.
Yes.
Sometimes he comes for just out of nowhere, folks.
It comes out of the blue. That's how my mind works. What can I say?
That song, it could probably light a karaoke bar on fire with your beautiful tones, Jimmy, much like Bubba Ray attempted to on Sunday night with some lighter fluid, teasing a flaming table spot.
Okay, actually, we'll get back to the flaming table spot, but it's funny you mentioned Bubba Ray and karaoke. Bubba Ray does a hell of a Charlie Daniels' Devil Went Down to Georgia.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Who are the best karaoke guys out there? Is Pat Patterson, pound for pound, number one? Pat
Patterson is he's the king. He's the Frank Sinatra of karaoke in the WWE when he actually uses his plurals.
Was it not a story that Devon Dudley, when he would be getting ready for his matches, used to just pump up It's Raining Men in the locker room?
Oh, I never heard It's Raining Men, but he does a hell of a When Doves Cry, Prince.
Boy,
yeah,
those Dudleys.
They'll surprise you.
You want to update the characters? I think you've got it with new manager Jimmy Corderas.
Yeah, I'm up for it.
I'm sure there's a great pun out there with 3D in regards to karaoke, but it's not coming to me at this moment. The Wyatt family defeats Tommy Dreamer, Rhino, and the Dudley Boys in the tables elimination match. Rowan was the only one eliminated on the heel end, and it came down to Bubba Ray Dudley. He put the lighter fluid all over the table, but then was chokeslammed by Braun Strowman to eliminate him. Again, we are doing this show before Raw, which is Monday night in Philadelphia. Mm-hmm. I would expect at the very least something involving these two teams to stretch it out for at least one more night in Philadelphia, if not have another ECW name from the past pop up. But I mean, we knew where this program was heading. I mean, this is very much a rehab program for the Wyatts after the Undertaker Kane program, and this was the logical finish in my mind.
No, absolutely. There's nothing I could add to that. These are the guys. The Wyatt family are a long-term project, and I know people are complaining that, they need more wins. They need more wins. Yeah, I get it, but at the same time, these guys are really good. Unfortunately for Eric Rowan, I don't see him being a breakout guy. I know they're putting a lot of stock into Braun Strowman. Luke Harper is the wild card because I think out of the group, he's the best actual worker and could be one of the best big men around right now. Maybe underutilized a little bit.
Maybe Eric Rowan is going to hear about this through the grapevine and get back to his vintner roots and be a wine producer. What happened to that?
Yeah, exactly.
He's just kind of moved on from that. That was a great element to his character, some real depth for a random man wearing a sheep mask.
I totally forgot about the wine.
Well, there you go. That's why they tune into this show. They often complain that we do too much of it. There we go. Trying to catch up to Mr. Corderas here. He set the bar high, much like the ladder match. Paige and Charlotte, we talked ahead of time that very hard to describe who the heel was here. And Jerry Lawler, maybe with the best line he had on the show, saying, no clear favorite in this particular match, which was the case. Were you anywhere closer to detecting a babyface amongst these two afterwards?
Absolutely not. But the funny thing is, it almost felt like Charlotte worked like a heel the entire match, and Paige kind of more worked like a babyface. It's weird because going into the match, the backstage segment where Paige tried to slap Ric Flair again, obviously makes her the supposed heel in this, but then Charlotte worked like a heel through the entire match, and we even got the exposed turnbuckle and Flair helping her win again, and so
it's a very bizarre direction path that they have, because you get the sense that Charlotte and Becky, like going into this whole show, we had the problems existing between Charlotte and Becky. Then Becky beats Paige on SmackDown, and somehow Becky's not part of this match. It seems like the match to make would have been Charlotte, Becky, or at least a three-way. Instead, we had a combination where it's very awkward. Paige is just in this weird Big Show territory where you don't know what she is.
Right.
And coming out of this, it feels like Becky is going to be programmed in here, yet she lost to Sasha Banks on the pre-show.
Yeah.
It just seems like it's very hard to get invested in this because you don't know who is who, what is what, and what they're even fighting over. It just seems it's a big, confusing mess in this Divas division at the moment.
Right. And I know, I get it. We talked about this before, that the days of traditional heels and baby faces, people seem to want to get away from that. And they like the anti-hero and the shades of gray area, and nobody's a real baby face and nobody's a real heel anymore. But that's what still works. It could still work today. I mean, it's simple. It's simple. People want to cheer for somebody. It depends on how you present them as a babyface. And for some reason in the Divas division, everybody's kind of like on equal playing field. Nobody's breaking out as a heel or baby. See, even with Brie Bella and Alicia Fox, have no idea. Team Bad, they're pretty much heels, but at the same time, so are Paige and Charlotte. I don't know. Mm-hmm. It's confusing.
It makes you wonder. Maybe in the new year we can get a top 10 list for Jimmy on the karaoke department and where Team Bad would rank. In particular, Tamina.
If you want to get someone who is being presented as a heel that's getting cheered to get booed in their own hometown, maybe Bad karaoke is the way to go.
Do you feel that was the idea behind that?
Absolutely, it was done intentionally. Because I'm assuming, as you know, Sasha Banks has some relations to Snoop Dogg. I'm sure there's some talent there.
Tamina is either the greatest actress in the world or she is the worst singer of all time. I don't think she can be both.
I'm afraid to guess which one it is.
That was awful.
Yeah, it was pretty bad.
But maybe that was the intent. Be awful. We know you're terrible.
Well, have you heard her dad sing?
No, I have not.
No, I can only imagine.
Probably not.
Yeah.
Best not to discuss Superfly Jimmy Snuka. It's not the.
Ooh, yeah, good point.
Yeah, I don't think he can be referenced on television at this particular time in WWE land. She is just Tamina. For the time being.
Yes.
That's going to wrap up our look at TLC. Overall, I've got to say a pretty good show.
Yeah.
And in terms of Roman Reigns, you have to look at a job very well done with the post-match angle. And now we have the long, by WWE standards, build for the Royal Rumble, which is January the 24th. And a lot of interesting ways they can go with the Rumble. A lot of key names coming back. As we mentioned, John Cena, Brock Lesnar expected to be on that show as well. So now we get into the season where typically there's heightened interest in the product. A lot of people come back. And the Royal Rumble this year, I just hope they sit down and really map this one out, because we talk about home runs that they might have hit at TLC. They have struck out with the Royal Rumble 2 years in a row. And that's a lot of the time, it's just a misread of their audience. And I think this year, the spotlight is on them, and I fear that it's going to be the cool thing to just dump on the Rumble if people sense the winner or something like that. And they've got their work cut out for them. The Rumble is not just this easy layup of a match to present and everyone loves it. It's been a real struggle the last 2 years.
Exactly. That's my fear as well, that it's becoming the cool thing it's clearly building towards so-and-so winning the Rumble. Let's just crap on it because we don't want him. Or whatever reason. It's almost like what's happening in the NXT arena now, where fans just seem to be chanting along. It's almost like they've got their own book out now. Okay, ready guys, chant number 24, here we go.
Do you think we get any Christmas carols sung by the audience in London this Wednesday at the NXT special?
That would be different at least, but then again, you never know.
Yeah. The ever-evolving state of wrestling chants, Jimmy.
Yeah.
There you have it. Yeah. All right, that's going to wrap us up. This is our final show of 2015, but we'll be back next month with Jimmy Corderas getting set for the Royal Rumble and whatever they have planned for that particular show. So we hope you all have a great holiday season.
Yes.
Go to liveaudiowrestling.com. We'll be back this Sunday with a new edition of The Law, midnight Eastern on TSN 1050 Toronto, TSN 1410 Vancouver, and on the site, iTunes, all that good stuff. And follow this man at Jimmy Corderas.